Hi, my name is Emily Meinholtz. I'm a sophomore, and my role in this year's performance of Clue is Assistant Stage Manager, and you're listening to the SMY Podcast.
Thanks for that introduction, and welcome to the SMY Podcast. I'm your host, Communication Coordinator Dan Bader. The mysterious music you hear is in honor of today's topic, our theater program, our student actors, and the fall play, the murder mystery comedy Clue. There's no mystery, however, in the benefit of having a theater program, and South Milwaukee has a pretty killer one. A lot of focus has been placed on, and justly so, our new football field, track, and softball and baseball fields as a source of pride in the community and something that attracts students to our district. It's important to remember that there are other extracurricular activities and facilities, like the Performing Arts Center, that the community paid for in the 2004 referendum, that are also top-notch and make South Milwaukee a great place to be a student. Having a great performance space is only part of the picture, though. We'll hear today about the energy and commitment that is poured into the theater program that makes it the high-quality educational experience that it is. But don't take it from me. Let's hear from our students. So today is an exciting day on the SMY Podcast. With us are some of the cast and crew of Clue, the fall play that's going to be happening next month in November. And later we'll talk to the director, but first we're going to talk to students. So with us today we have Blaze, who's a sophomore, Sam, who's a senior, and Sabrina, who's also a senior. Blaze is on the crew, and Sam and Sabrina are in our principals in the front of the house, in front of the play. Welcome, guys. Good to be here.
Hi, thanks.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So, Blaze, sorry, but let's start with the seniors. You guys are. Is this your first play? What else have you been in that you've been here?
So I've been in theater since freshman year. I did Vintage Hitchcock freshman year, and then I did Crew for Harvey sophomore year, and then last year I was in Radium Girls and Sound of Music. So I have quite a few productions under my belt by now.
No kidding. How about you, Sam?
I joined pretty late. I only joined last year, my junior year, where I was in Radium Girls and the Sound of Music with Sabrina.
Nice. And Blaze, how about you? What have you done? Have you been in anything before?
I have been both also in the Radium Girls and the Sound of Music.
Nice. So, wow, you guys, this is old hat for you now. You guys have done this a couple times. What is Clue like that's different from maybe some of the other ones? Anybody?
Well, at least for me, it's the first show that's more of a comedy. The last two were dealt with weirdly serious topics, nature of Radium and Sound of Music. But being able to do a comedy, especially with people that you've known for a really long time, it feels a lot more natural. It feels really, I feel like we all have a really good dynamic with each other.
Okay. Sabrina, you feel that way too?
Yeah, I would totally agree. It's a really fun, wacky show. People are really going to enjoy it and have a lot of laughs, especially like you were saying, compared to our more serious productions. I would say especially my character too is a lot more fun, and she has an accent compared to my some other more serious roles that I've had in the past.
Mm-hmm. And Blaze, are you normally a crew person?
I am indeed a crew person. I have been the head of props literally the beginning of freshman year, so I've somehow gotten a leadership role really, really early. But this year I'm also doing booth, so I'll be doing lights and head of props at the same time.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about the props. What are the props in this movie?
The props...
Or movie, sorry, show.
That's okay.
Seen the movie.
Again, I never really watched the movie, but the items that we have is having the items that are in the main game in a safe or in gift wrapped boxes that they get handed out to each other, or this prop that we're doing backstage for the construction people. We made this really big chandelier made out of pool noodles.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, everyone says it looks like an octopus, but...
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. You have to be really creative with that.
Yeah.
I imagine. Yeah. And when did you guys start working on this? Because we're in the middle of October now, or close to the end of October. When did this all start?
Well, cast really started working towards like early middle September, right?
Same.
What about?
We started like a day after cast started.
Sure. So is theater your guys' passion, or is this a hobby for you? Tell me about it. Sabrina, how about you? We haven't heard from you.
I'm really passionate about it, but it wouldn't be like a career choice for me. But I would definitely continue it in like college and probably beyond. Yeah, I'm really passionate about it.
So I know South Milwaukee has some electives when it comes to theater. Have you guys ever been taking any of the classes?
I have not taken drama, but I heard it's really great, and I would recommend it from what I've heard.
Yeah. Okay.
I know I only was able to take Drama 1. Drama 2 wasn't offered this year, unfortunately. It is next year. But yeah, it is a great class, a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Blaze?
I actually haven't been in any drama classes, but from what I hear from my friends and from everyone else, it seems really cool. Like, you get to experience, like, really cool, like, acting, even though you're not even an actor, and you just, like, have fun in that class.
Yeah, nice. So, yeah, I understand there's the troupe. I mean, because we really have, like, a whole troupe of actors and stage people here. Don't necessarily, like you said, are not necessarily thinking about doing this in college, or maybe not even, I guess you could do a community theater if you wanted after, right? But wouldn't be studying towards it, but it's just something you like to do, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people here, especially in that, like we have a thespians troupe here, I think most people would share that sentiment of like, even if it's not a career choice, it's still just a big passion, and even if you're not directly involved, seeing shows every once in a while, even college and beyond, is probably going to be a plan for most people.
How seriously do students take participating in the play? Blaze, how about you? What do you think?
I mean, we had, for crew auditions, there was a whole crowd of just people swarming in the backstage. Like, it was so overwhelming for the first couple of days because everyone was just there. But, like, now that we found where our spots are and, like, what places we're supposed to be in, it kind of died down. But I love how, like, everyone is just so passionate about it.
Yeah. Sam, would you say they're pretty dedicated, the actors here?
Oh, for sure. Everyone that auditions, for the majority, are incredibly passionate about it. Even if they're not casted in the end, they're still very passionate about what they're doing and still are committed to keep going next year. Honestly, this year, there was upwards of, like, I think 40-ish people that were auditioning and cast. And each and every single one of them put in so much care for something that even if it was their first time, and it was really cool to see.
Sure. And Sabrina, what do you feel like the tone is about participating in the theater projects we have as part of the student body now that you've been here 4 years?
Yeah, I would say the people who are in theater really love it and they recommend it, and you build a really close bond in theater too. Like, I found a lot of close friends, and I know a lot of people who really enjoy theater for hanging out with their friends and spending time with them.
How about other students that maybe don't participate in theater? Do you feel like, kind of like, everyone goes to the pep rally for football games. Is it the same support that you would see for theater projects?
It really depends. For example, last year with the Sound of Music, that was huge every single night. Partly with the community, but also partly with the school itself. But this year, now that we're doing 2 shows that have huge movies attached to them, at least from my end, I've seen a lot more people get excited to see it. I don't know, what have you guys seen?
Yeah, I've heard some classmates talking about it and saying they are excited to see it. And I always kind of wondered how other people, looked into it who are on the outside as well. I know for last year we did a preview, and that got, like, really surprisingly really good reviews. Like, people were clapping, people were cheering. It was really cool to see, like, and that was all of our classmates.
Nice. So what do you guys get out of this personally? Like, what do you, is there some skill, Blaze, you said you're in a leadership position. Is there something that you see that is kind of adding to your skill set that you're taking away from being in a production?
As a person who, throughout elementary school and middle school years, I've always been looked as a leader. And so having, like, a more professional way of being presented leadership roles has probably built up my confidence to have not that self-doubt of like, hey, you're not a leader. Maybe you shouldn't be doing these. But like now that like people have been saying throughout the 2 productions and this production that I now do see myself as somewhat of a leader.
Yeah, you've got credibility, right? You've got something under your belt. Sam, you're nodding your head too. How do you feel about that question?
Well, for the majority of like my school life, I didn't talk at all, and this I just think has got really opened up like communication skills, just really getting people out of their shell, because people that I've also auditioned for the first time with me or after me, I've seen the same thing in them, and I just think it's a really cool thing, both on crew and on cast. Everyone just becomes a little bit more comfortable with themselves, and opens up in a really, really cool way.
Yeah, okay. Sabrina, any thoughts that way?
Yeah, I think it builds worth the lines, learning your blocking, or like for crew, learning what props need to be on when. Like, it's a lot of work and memorization, and that really, is useful in any job or field.
Sure, and I guess presentation, right? I mean, you have a deadline, and you have to be on and ready for it, right? That's a big skill that, a lot of adults struggle with. I should have asked you before, Sabrina, what's the accent? Who are you on the play? And yeah, what is it?
I play Yvette, so I have a French accent, and it's really fun to do. It's a really fun time.
Yeah, have you practiced? Like, how do you practice it? What did you take away? You said you watched some clips maybe of the movie, but where do you get your French accent?
It was honestly mostly just the clips, and it kind of just happened. Like, it kind of just came to me, and Bacchus really enjoyed it after I did it for the first time. I didn't really, watch any additional videos or anything, but I don't know, it kind of just comes to me, but I really like doing it.
Do you two have lines together that maybe you could do a quick back and forth with me on the...
Which one's
We have the prologue. The prologue and I guess at the door.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which one are you thinking?
Okay, we could do the prologue.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Okay. Here, let's put this right in between you and you go ahead.
To set the scene.
So you are, I didn't even say, what's your role?
I play Wadsworth in the movie, very French, or not French, British butler. And to set the scene, it's, dark, stormy night, thunder's in the background, we got all that sound cues playing.
Which is where Blaze comes in, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Walk on stage. Yvette?
Monsieur, I didn't even hear you come in. You nearly frightened me half to death.
Who wouldn't want to do that? There's so many better ways to die. Please turn off that noise. Is everything ready?
Oui.
Good. Cook. And then someone else would come on.
Yeah.
Do those lines.
Right, because it's such a wraparound, like everybody just walks right into each other's lines and everything on it, right? So.
Yeah.
We get pretty much no time off stage for this show. Everyone is bouncing back and forth.
Nice. So, what do you guys still have to work on? What do you think you need? It's the next. Yeah, go ahead and put that back. What do you guys feel is that you really need your work to go into in these next few weeks?
Maybe making sure before I do my booth, I make sure that everyone's props are at the right spot. Because I know last year during the Sound of Music, it was super stressful. I was crying over a guitar that was hiding underneath a bed the whole entire time. So I have to at least double check and check in on some of my friends backstage to make sure, hey, does this person have their props? And then for lights, I really don't know how that's going to work out, but I feel like I'm confident in reading that script and giving cues.
Nice. Well, Sam, how about you?
I feel like a lot of people in cast can relate to this. Vocal cues. Just memorizing everything that comes right before you. It's a little bit of a struggle because you have to memorize your actions, your dialogue, but at the same time, the dialogue and actions of everyone else, just to make sure you don't miss a spot. And I think that's something that we're improving a lot with. And I think, at least that for me, that's my biggest struggle right now.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I would say general lines we've got down, but the gasps and little sounds here and there, you've got to really nail down so it all comes together. I had something else, but I forgot.
That's okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I know you have to get back to rehearsal, but it was super fun. Anytime I get to talk to students, it's super fun. But I love this play and I love this show, so I'm excited to see it. Thanks for being on it.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
before we talk to the director, I thought, well, maybe we've seen the finished product of the play, but you probably haven't heard some of the work that goes into it. So here is a small bit of the cast rehearsing recently.
What choice do we have?
None.
I suppose you're right. All right, troops, divide and conquer. Eeny, meeny, miny.
No, Mrs. White, you're with me. Professor Plum, you go with Mr. Peacock. Yvette, you're with Mr. Green. Miss Scarlet, you're with me.
But what if somebody doesn't come back?
Remember you fun. Now, leave no door open, and remember, cherish your partner. This might be the last person you ever see.
Now go, and they will give you enough time with the blackout to get to the spots.
This is a study, right?
Yeah, so some of you needed to go the other direction.
Remember what we did yesterday? Like picture.
Okay, joining us today is English teacher and theater director Tim Backus. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sorry I got your title wrong. You are also a theater teacher, director, and English teacher. Welcome.
Thank you. I wear many hats.
So tell us about selecting Clue as this year's play. What goes into that?
There's a lot of factors that go into choosing the shows that we do each year. It's kind of based on what have we done recently, as well as who are the kids that I know are going to kind of be available. Heavy, which was great. We hadn't really done a whole lot of like heavy drama. We had Radium Girls in the fall, Sound of Music in the spring. Both great shows, but I knew kids were itching for something a little lighter. And this was, a really kind of over the top, kind of screwball comedy. If you're familiar with the movie, it's very similar. The script is heavily based on that. So I thought it would be something that the kids would have a lot of fun with.
Sure. And how do you go about how big is the cast and crew, and then how do you go about selecting them?
So the cast for this show is 11. The crew is around, I would say, 25 to 30-ish, both backstage and in the booth. And then the selection for the cast, we have auditions. The cast has to prepare. I give them several selections from the show that they can work on, scenes that they create, and they come in and perform for a panel that includes myself and several other people on the theater staff. And then we, based on who we think is the best fit for the roles, on the quality of their auditions, etc., we end up selecting the cast. And we had a pretty solid turnout this year. I mean, it was over 30 people for just 11 roles, which for a fall play is pretty good. We usually get around half the number to audition in the fall as we do for the musical in the spring. So if that holds true, we'll be looking at a good number for the musical also.
Yeah, that's amazing. That'd be interesting to see that trend, because I know our music department is seeing a swell in student participation. See if that translates into performing arts too.
I hope so.
Yeah. And then are they drama students, or who are they? Some of them,
but I mean, most of them are just kids who really enjoy doing this. You don't have to take any of the drama classes to be involved in the theater program, and vice versa. But I would say a lot of these kids are kids who have been involved in our productions before, and it's just something they pick up as freshmen, and then they keep enjoying it and they keep coming back. The freshmen, though, who get involved, they're taking a risk, and it's super cool to see.
And yeah, I would say, as being a freshman and putting yourself out there like that in front of the rest of your school, that's a particular level of brave.
Yes. We do have one freshman in the cast, which is really awesome for them because it's a very junior senior heavy cast this fall, which it sort of tends to be for the plays. There's fewer roles available, so generally the kids who are more experienced are going to be the stronger performers, right?
Yeah.
But having a freshman in the cast is a big deal for them and also our program. But we had a lot of freshmen come out and try out, and there were some really solid auditions, and so it's so cool to see it just feels like engagement in general has really picked up over the last year or so, coming out of COVID, where it felt like everybody was, a little anxious to get involved in things again. But we're starting to see a turnaround, at least in the areas that I'm involved.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. And then tell me about the progression. First, kind of staying on the cast, how many are returning from Radium Girls and from Sound of Music?
I think either 9 or 10 of the 11 were in Sound of Music.
Oh, wow.
It's an experienced group. I think around half or slightly over half were also in Radium Girls. These are kids who have, multiple shows under their belts already, which is great. We've built the program to the point where, we have junior and senior classes coming up with a lot of experience taking some of these roles, while, freshmen and sophomores are starting to get some opportunities, gaining experience in a couple of years from now.
Yeah, I mean, if you put in a sports analogy, you have, your varsity team that is practiced for 2 to 3 years already, that know what they're doing, and then they can coach along the younger casts. That sounds like, a thriving program, how that works. And with this play, it seems like costuming, well, for both of them, costuming's pretty big deal, but this one's pretty unique. It's Victorian, I guess, or
no, I mean it takes place in the 1950s. So the backdrop of it, if you've seen the movie, it's similar. Like the backdrop is around the Red Scare, and so the idea that all of these people have been brought into Washington, they're like, does this have something to do with the Red Scare? They're being blackmailed by their host. But the costuming, it's. We have Professor Plum, Miss Scarlet, Mrs. Peacock. They're all, going to be dressed in the colors of the names that they have been given, their pseudonyms for the evening. And they don't change the entire show. It all takes place over the course of a couple hours. So it is very easy to separate, like, which character is which.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of thinking about the mansion when I was thinking Victorian, right? Because of the setting it's in. But of course, right. And yeah, so that's a big lift for the cast or the crew too, to build something that looks like what's in Clue.
It is almost impossible to create. Like this particular show has like 12 operable doors, which is just an insane number. It would take so much ability and money to create like a mansion that would rotate and have all these different levels. So Shelly Krajacek, who is our set designer, and she also teaches English at the high school, designed like a really modular set that like has specific areas instead of it being a huge like structure. And so each one of these areas also corresponds with one of the colors. Like the conservatory, I think is like Professor Plum. I don't remember exactly which is which, but and then there are sets of doors that slide down and come down from up above that lock in, so that when you're in the hallway, there's the doors, and then each one pulls up. It's really hard for me to describe without a visual, but each set of doors like pulls up to reveal the room behind it. There's a couple of them that rotate around and like open up the rooms, but a lot of individual areas within this larger space that we've created.
Wow, so many logistics to get that timing right.
I promise it's actually simpler than I'm making it sound.
Okay.
But it is. I mean, it's always a big undertaking whenever you're creating a set, but our crew and Nick Davia, the PAC technical director, and Shelly, they all do an amazing job of like getting it organized and making it happen.
So stepping away from maybe the volunteer aspect of the actually being in the play, can we talk a little bit about the course of study of theater here at South Milwaukee? How many classes are there, and what's it like for students?
Currently, we have 2 drama classes. I'm teaching Drama 1 this semester. I've got about 22 to 25 students in that class at the moment. And that class is intended to be just kind of a survey of everything that goes into theater. So we talk at first about like the history of theater. Then we go into monologues. So they memorize and perform a monologue. We're just about to have our Readers Theater performances, which you got to see last year.
Yeah.
They take children's books and turn them into little skits. Next, we're going to be doing like play analysis. The theory is that like if you can't understand or analyze the literature, you can't really design it or act it or direct it. So we read a play and analyze it. Then we go into design. They get to choose costume, set, or lighting design. And then we have a final portfolio that kind of combines a lot of these things. So
wow. And that's all Drama 1.
Yep. That's one semester. Yeah.
Wow.
And then Drama 2, which is not running this year, but will run again next year. It's in every other year. It's for people who have taken Drama 1. And what we did with it this past spring was they wrote and produced their own original play.
Was that End of the World?
Yeah,
is that what it was?
So the theme they chose was pretty maudlin. It was the end of the world, and there was a lot of feelings associated with it. But I gave them full control over what they wanted the topic to be. They wrote all of their own scenes and monologues, and we combined them together and made a short performance.
Wow. So if a family were interested in drama coming into the high school, they have 2 classes they can take one every other year, but then 2 performances that they could audition for or at least be part of the crew in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty complete for your course of experience and kind of classwork.
Yeah. And then through our Thespians Honor Society, which is basically the drama club. Once you've been involved in a certain number of productions, you're eligible to join, and we offer additional opportunities through that. Like we've brought in professionals to conduct like makeup workshops or choreography workshops. We've taken them to see professional shows. Last spring, like Thespians completely paid for 20 students to go see the touring Broadway production of Hadestown.
Oh, wow. I heard great things about that.
Yeah, it was awesome. And a lot of these kids have never seen a professional show before,
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to be able to provide those opportunities.
Yeah, wow. And then, on top of the art and music that are not stage acting, this is a complete kind of picture of art that people can take here. So kind of back to Clue, what is the timeline for you guys to pull all of this together?
We had 1 extra week than normal this year. Normally it's the second weekend of November is when the show goes up. This year it's the third. It's November 17th through 19th. But typically like the second week of school or so is when we have auditions. And then we have our first cast and crew meeting that week and maybe have a rehearsal. And then it's like the next week is when we really get started with everything. So it's around an 8 to 9 week process usually.
Yeah, and it's all after school, right?
Yeah. We do have 1 Saturday rehearsal the week before the show where we just kind of combine all of the technical elements, run through all of like the sound and lighting cues, all of the set changes, make sure that everybody on stage and off like knows their tasks for the whole tech week.
Mm-hmm. And it starts out with what I guess that the main actors getting their scripts. Is it table reads or how's it work? Yeah.
I don't always do a table read, but for this show, since there's so much going on, I did, and they really enjoyed that. Usually the very first day, I get everybody together, cast and crew and the PAC. We do quick introductions. We have a mandatory safety seminar we have to complete for the PAC. Mm-hmm. But after that, we talk through like what are my expectations for the show. We eventually like split up after we go through all of the details basically. And crew goes with Nick Tavia and he takes them on like a tour and shows them general plot outline of the set that they're going to create, like a stage plot. And then I take the cast and we talk through like the plot of the show, and walk through some of the other stuff they need to know with that.
Sure. Wow. And I hope people in South Milwaukee realize the level of quality of the programming we have. I've worked at several schools, and while I've enjoyed every play that I've seen, the amount of commitment that the students have to here and the community seems pretty intense.
Yeah, I think like we've really developed like outstanding buy-in from the students with regard to the program. They take it seriously, and they have a ton of fun, but like one of the things I've tried to emphasize this is my 6th year in this position now, and I keep trying to emphasize like we are all here to have fun, right? But putting on a great show is fun, and that takes work. But the work doesn't have to be boring either. Like the work can be fun, and kids have fun in rehearsal and backstage with the understanding that like we all have to work to get to where we need to be, and they really hold each other accountable and themselves accountable. It's been really great.
Yeah. So we talked in the spring about community involvement. What's it like in the fall?
It's a much more relaxed, I think, process in the fall. Musicals, if you have never been involved in a musical before, anybody who's listening to this, I don't know that I can sufficiently explain to you how chaotic it is. There's just so many elements that come together and so many more opportunities for involvement, right? I did have a couple community members last year get involved with our set build and with a couple other things. Fall is way more relaxed, which is good because for some kids it's their introduction to theater. There are still plenty of opportunities for anyone who's interested to get involved with set builds. We actually had an alumnus stop by yesterday to come and lend a hand, which was super cool. She's at Carroll College now and getting involved in their theater program, which is really cool to see.
Oh, who is it?
Sam Champagne.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Nice.
And so there are opportunities for getting involved just with like logistical things, like on our all-day rehearsal, for example, like who wants to help us plan out the meal that we feed the students at lunch, like something as simple and one-off as that, right?
Yeah.
Up to like actually like, hey, if you have skills that are relevant to our program, like we're happy to benefit from those skills, you know?
Sure. Now I know there aren't any songs or pieces in it. Is there a score that comes along with Clue?
So we actually, for this show, it's unique in the fact that we got like an entire music and sound package that came with this, which is not a normal thing. But all of the cues are provided for us in this program and listed out. And so, yeah, there are cues in this that we wouldn't normally have in a fall play.
And how does that work? Is there someone in a sound booth that's going to kick it off?
Yeah, so in the booth at any given time, we've got several students, one or two of whom will be focused on sound, so sound cues, but also like working the microphones, and then one or two who will be focused on lighting. Plus, depending on the show, we may or may not have a couple people in the balcony doing spotlights. But in the booth for the sound cues, one person's job will be like making sure they're following along in the script, and when they see the cue line, that they're ready to hit the cue for the next sound effect.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Different kind of role. So how many performances are we going to have?
3. So for both the fall and the musical, we do Friday, Saturday evening at 7:30, and then a Sunday 2 p.m. matinee.
Okay. And then is there like one you're going to do for students, or is that the dress rehearsal for students?
We don't have one of those for the fall. We will for the musical. But with the fall, it's much harder to cut up a play and showcase it versus like, let's just throw a few songs out there, you know?
Right. Yeah, I guess that, doing one big number would be quite a thing just to show, right? We only got a certain amount of time with the student body because they have to get the class. Got it. And maybe talk a little bit about what a student who goes through this program that we kind of outlined, what that does for a student when it comes to what they want to do next in life, and then maybe what it does for a school culture to have a production like this.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the vast majority of these kids aren't going to go on to like major in theater or even necessarily be involved. I mean, I always emphasize like, no matter where life takes you, there are always going to be opportunities to be involved in the arts in some way. And so I think like people, kids as they're graduating, they take that with them and hold on to that, because this doesn't have to be a goodbye to the arts, right? There are opportunities for that in the future. So, but I think like on a broader school level, people are attracted to school districts not just for the quality of the education, but also like the quality of the experience, right? And we have, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we have the best facility. I mean, if not in the state, at least in this area. I tell the students all the time, like, we have a better facility than all of the professional theaters in Milwaukee have.
Wow.
It's
wow,
like,
really?
yeah, I mean, and that's not to disrespect the Rep or Skylight or anything, but I mean, just the quality of the facility that we have here is incredible. And it's also like really beautiful, the PAC.
It is.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, we are very unique in that we have that, and that like I want the students to be aware that we have that, because with that comes a certain level of responsibility, I think, to create something that is equally beautiful, right?
Right.
And I think that they have really been up to the task these last several years. And for the first time this year, like I had a kid who came in to open house, who's actually the freshman now in this production. And they were like, yeah, we came and we open enrolled in South Milwaukee because of theater,
wow.
Which is like an incredible thing to hear, right? It's very validating for me, but it's also like, yeah, I mean, we've got this super awesome facility. Why can't we be one of the better programs in the area?
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I remember now that at an open house that I helped turn on the lights in the PAC so a student could check it out. That was something that person had asked for. I don't know if it's the same person, but that someone had asked to just see what it looked like, during open house. Very cool. Well, Tim Backus, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to see Clue.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's our episode for today. I hope you've enjoyed this look into our high school theater program. Those kids put in a lot of work after school, and they take it really seriously. I hope that came across. If you want to see Clue, that's going to be Friday, November 17th from 7:30 to 9 at the South Milwaukee Performing Arts Center. Again on Saturday, same time, 7:30 to 9 in the PAC. And there's a matinee again on Sunday from 2 to 3:30 p.m. in the PAC. Take a look at the PAC website, the high school website when tickets are open for purchase. And keep an eye on the website for a lot of things. We've got Veterans Day events coming up, food drive information. It's a new revamped website. A lot of information on there. Thanks for listening again. This has been the SMY Podcast.